All right, first look, entering Fortaleza Abuelos Distillery.
Los Abuelos. But when Mr. Guillermo started exporting in 2006, he encounters that there is this rum called El Abuelo from Panama. You ever heard of it? You ever tried it? Don't do it. Solamente Fortaleza, yes. So unfortunately, Mr. Guillermo loses the case and he has to change the name to Fortaleza, which is the name of the distillery where the tequila is made at. And he wanted still the original name to make it to the US and other countries. So he finds a loop behind the result of the case, which is a silk screen. And this is the workshop where we do this. So every bottle right behind the label, the paper label, will have the silk screen engraved in the bottle. And this is what we call a little FU to the result of the case. All right, so let's come in. I'll show you how it's done. Are on a break, but it's better for us so we have a better access to see everything up close. Now, here's where all the bottles will be dropped off. We're going to use this little machine here. Let's get in right here. It has a mesh, and we use some a type of paint. It's not acrylic, but this paint is going to be the negative of the silk screen. We're using the mesh. We pass over. We leave the negative, and then over this, we're going to put like a white paint, kind of like an acid, that is going to eat away a little bit of the glass to engrave the silk screen. This is going to take just a few minutes. Once it's completely dry, we're going to wash them with water at high pressure. And once they're finished, we will reveal the actual bottle. Let me see if they have it here. These are broken. Where's their finished product? Sorry, guys. So this is one. So every time you remove a label, you will find this. This is a secret that we keep. So please don't say anything about it. All right, guys, so welcome to La Villa Sausa. This property was purchased by Mr. Guillermo's grandfather, el señor Javier, Francisco Javier Sausa. You can remember this last name, right? The Sausa brand. They are the founders of it. Mr. Javier purchased this property in the early 50s with the idea of making tequila using the Tahona, since the distillery is located in this place. But Mr. Javier was a person of high efficiency. When he discovered that making tequila using this method wasn't efficient enough, he decided to close this place in the 68, and the place will be reopened until 1999 that Mr. Guillermo comes back with the idea of making his own brand. It will take him a couple of years, around 3 years, to bring this place back up. And his first liter of tequila will come out in 2005. He will start exporting in 2006. And this is the whole legal issue about Los Abuelos versus El Abuelo. Okay? The property itself has around 60 acres or 30 hectareas. We have a little artificial lake or reservoir that is right in the middle. And the water that comes into this reservoir is going to be mineral water that comes directly from the huge mountain that is a volcano, the volcano of Tequila. This water is clean water. It has little fishes in there, some birds that come in to drink from it. And we use this water also for our production of tequila. Here in the property, we have more than 200 different species of plants, trees, fruit trees, flowers. Plus, we have agave fields. The agaves from this property are usually for special editions, but our everyday production, we purchase agaves from outside providers. We always take our agaves like a winter balloon, still depends. It's not like a specific type. And the agaves for everyday production comes from outside, and we always take our agaves at a minimum of 7 years old. All right, so we're not cutting kernels from here. Questions or comments so far? No? We're gonna continue walking. El señor Guillermo, his full name is, it's actually Guillermo Erickson Sausa. But he was born in Chicago, lived in California for a couple of years. The first years when he started this project, he used to travel back and forth But then in 2010, he decides to move here to Tequila. And he lives in that little house up in the hill. That was built by his grandfather. He hasn't changed much of the property. He only added a few things here and there, like the little garage over there. That garage has his more precious toys, which are motorcycles. He has a few custom Harleys, just little toys. More like dogs. I think his favorite animal will be dogs. He loves them. Brazilian tree, it's originally from Brazil, but you can find it here in Mexico, especially in tropical areas. And there is very good wood for furniture. But here instead, we use him to bring some shade to this area because we have the aging room right here, which we'll get to visit. We have the resting tanks right before it goes into the bottle. And the bottling room is going to be here. So you want to make sure this place is a little cool and under the shade so the alcohol will not evaporate with the high temperatures. We will come back later today. We're going to go to the other side, all right? There's the property. It extends all the way where the houses start, all around the brick wall, the white and red, and it goes right behind us. So this is basically the 60 acres. And that huge mountain will be the volcano of Tequila.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Never erupted?
Have any tequila. All right, guys, so the plant that you see here, this is what we know as blue agave. The botanical name is Tequilana Weber blue variety, and it's the only one that we can use for the production of tequila, even though the agave family has around 200 different species. Some examples will be espadín to make mezcal, maguey to make pulque. But we have the CRT, el Consejo Regulador del Tequila, who is the one that sets all the rules of how we make tequila and the one that certifies. They are the ones who also certify the fields where the agaves will be planted. And they say that only 5 states in Mexico can make tequila. This is an appellation zone. Only Jalisco, Nayarit, Michoacán, Guanajuato, and Tamaulipas are able to make tequila and plant agave for the production of tequila. If you try to make tequila outside of these 5 states, you will have to call it destilado de agave. You cannot use the word tequila. And it's very similar like champagne, where you have to do it within the town. Same idea. This is a protection for the Mexican product. Now, Tequilana, however, there is 2 ways and you can reproduce. One is the asexual method, which is through rhizomes or baby agaves. That usually will pop from the bottom of the mom. I'll leave you right here, straight ahead. You see how it's a big agave and then some little ones underneath? Those are the pups. And those, we are going to wait until they measure around 1 foot tall or so we can remove them. And we have to wait a couple days, around 30 to 60 days for them to shrink, to dry out, and then we can actually plant them. The planting is actually right before the rain season. For us, rain season is basically June, a little bit of June, July, and a little bit of August. Why? Because this is all the water the agave is going to need to survive the entire year. Doesn't have a watering system like other types of crops, so we have to do this right before the rainy season. Harvesting is the opposite. Harvesting can happen all year round. It will not be a different flavor or anything like that. So you can do 365 days of the year you can actually harvest agave. The other method in which you can reproduce agave is going to be through a quiote. You guys notice a stem over there? There were a few agaves that had a stem that looks like a tree. You see it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Those are called quiotes. When the plant is ready to reproduce, this is going to be the sexual method, the quiote will start growing. It will give you some flowers, and through pollination and the work of bees, bats, butterflies, anything that eats nectar will take the pollen, take it to another agave, and this is going to give you bulbillos, which are kind of like seeds for the agave. The only thing with the bulbillos is that the probability that it's going to give you an agave is very low. And if it does give you an agave, it will take you more time, around 12 to 15 years for this to be ready, versus the 7-8 years that the pups will give you. So you see, everyone uses the rhizome method to reproduce the agave. And after the 7-8 years are done, we will have the harvesting, known as hima. And the person in charge of doing this are called jimadores. Remember the tequila? Now makes sense. Jimadores are the ones who are in charge of harvesting piñas. What they use is a long stick with a round-shaped knife called coa, C-O-A. The coa will be used to remove pencas or leaves, and the only thing we take for production is going to be the bowl, the piña. Pencas usually stay on fields as a form of compost, although you can actually extract a fiber called istle to make lasso, to make fabric. Back in the days, our ancestors only used the pencas and threw away the piñas. Exactly. But turns out there was a storm where a lightning hits one of the agaves, cooks the agave, and they discover that it had a sweet flavor. Yes. So they start eating it and they start making kind of like a fresh water of agave. This fresh water will ferment. They will try it again, and they notice that it took them to a different level of happiness. Fermented juice tends to have a little bit of alcohol. So they will start drinking this. And it's until the Spaniards come into Mexico that they bring the distillation process, the still pots that they had copied from the Arabs. And that's when Vino Mezcal starts, which is the original name of tequila, Vino Mezcal. The region of tequila starts specializing in this process. Also, the type of water that we get here in the valley is mineral water that comes from the volcano. First ingredient in your tequila, agave. Second ingredient, water. So if your water has a distinctive flavor versus other places, will this change the flavor of your tequila? So people start asking for as vino mezcal de tequila, from tequila. Eventually, this will just be cut off and we end up with just the word tequila, and that's how it comes. So first was the town, later the drink, not the other way around. Questions or comments so far? No? Okay, so I'm going to give you...
Okay, here I'm with Kim. This is our tour guide for the day. So Kim, how long have you been working here for Fortaleza?
So I've been working here since November last year.
Okay.
So I'm fairly new, but I had a little bit more experience because I work somewhere else.
Okay. What is it about tequila that you like more than other spirits?
I think it's an authentic drink, and it's very like an identity for the Mexican culture. Like
Yes.
the first thing you think is about tequila and mariachi.
Yes.
Well, that's another thing, and also because it doesn't give you a hangover if you know how to drink it.
Exactly. If you know how to drink it, no hangovers.
No hangovers. Yeah.
Okay. And why should people drink Fortaleza and not these popular celebrity tequilas that we're starting to see more and more on the market?
So Fortaleza, the project of Fortaleza, as I know it, is to show the world how tequila is supposed to be made and how it's supposed to taste. Currently, the process, it has been industrialized quite a lot, especially because a lot of celebrities are selling their own brands.
Yes.
And this is has changed a lot of the flavor of the tequila. So what Mr. Guillermo wanted to do is to show the world what is a true tequila and how is the process when you don't cut any corners.
Yes.
When you do every single step, even if it takes you extra time and you don't get as much tequila, but it will be a really good quality product.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly.
And that's why Fortaleza.
Fortaleza will be a good option for you to start.
It's the best. Okay, well, thank you, Kim, and you heard it from her. Stay away from celebrity tequilas.
Yes, please, don't do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is where all the loads of agave will be dropped off once they're harvested. Here we have only two ovens. They're pretty small. One is 15 tons and the other one is 28 tons. So that means that we cannot get agave every single day, since the process of cooking agave usually takes around 36 to 40 hours. We get agaves only Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The average weight of an agave is usually 40 kilos, but they can weigh up to 80 or 90 kilos. Now, to make a single liter of tequila, on average, you need 7 to 10 kilos. So if we leave the math easy, a 40 kilo agave will give you 4 liters of tequila. So it depends mostly on the agave. Here we have to split the agaves in half because remember, the ovens are small. So it's kind of like playing Tetris. You're going to place them and the work is completely manual. We're going to put it on a wheel cart, take it into the ovens, place them, seal the oven, and use high pressure steam to cook the agave. Unlike mezcal, where you use underground ovens with fire directly to the piña, giving the smoky flavor to mezcal. In tequila, because we use the steam, we're getting the sweetness of it. And basically this process makes the starches transform into simple sugars like fructose, which we're going to use for the fermentation process. Questions or comments so far? Distillery, even though we got the family got this place in the early 50s, this place has more history behind it. These two steel pots that you see here are the original steel pots. This distillery started in the at the beginning of the century. And another thing that was added here is going to be the plate over there. It says Destilería La Fortaleza, donde se hace el tequila como lo hizo mi tatarabuelo. Where tequila is made the way my great-great-grandfather used to make it. So we're talking about a recipe of 150 years ago. All right? So we're going to go inside. Remember, guys, they are still working. Every step they miss is a little less out in the market. So make sure we stick into the wall so they can walk and continue working. If you have questions or anything, let me know. Be careful where you step also, because there will be some tools. Sometimes there are pipes around, so you don't miss a step. Hola, chicos. Be careful with the pipes. We can extend all the way here. Sí. ¿Hay agave? Ese no es más fresco. ¿Sí? A ver. Uf. Alright guys, so this is the distillery. This is the only place where Tequila Fortaleza is made. We are currently working at full capacity, meaning we are having 3 shifts, morning, midday, overnight, 6 days a week. And still not enough for the high demand of our tequila. Usually what happens here is once the agave is fully cooked, we're going to let it cool down for around 24 hours before we can start working with it. Oh look, there's some agave here. So this is the finished product from the ovens. Ay, salud chiquita. Just chew and suck the juice out. Don't eat the fibers.
I don't want to taste that.
No? See? Just chew it. Just chew it, suck the juice. Kind of like a sugar cane. I'm not going to get you drunk yet. I don't want it.
That's kind of sweet.
But what we're going to do is that we're going to take the agave once it's cooled off and put it through a desgarradora. That machine in the corner, desgarradora is basically a shredder. It will take an entire piña and make it into just fibers. We will place the fibers inside of the pit, which has a capacity of 3 tons. We place it evenly, and then we're going to link the tajona, which is the stone that looks like a donut. We're going to link it to the, and we're going to move the stone around for 4 hours. Right behind the tajona, my co-workers will be walking behind, bringing in the fibers or loosening them up for the 4 hours as well. We're going to separate the pulp from the fibers, and once the 4 hours are done, we're going to add water. And we're going to do the washing, which is this part of the process. You're going to move the fibers around to separate the soft from the hard parts. Bring the fibers on top of the wooden pallet. Let the juice drip. And there is going to be a compartment here that will open and drain the entire pit. This will go into this container underground. We take a sample, check how much sugar it has, and calculate how much more water we're going to need for a second or third wash. Which means we have to bring these fibers back into the pit, fill with water, move it around, bring it back up into the pallet. So this can happen twice, can happen 3 times. All depends on how much sugar this agave has. The juice is known as mosto. And in the fermentation process, we're going to have 2 phases. Mosto vivo, this is the fermentation being active when the sugars are being converted into CO2 and alcohol. You will have some bubbling at the top. And once it's done, we will call it mosto muerto. Well, it means the microorganisms have consumed all the sugar and now you have only a little concentration of alcohol. The process depends on the weather. If it's hot weather, it will take around 3 days. If it's cold weather, around 4 to 5 days. It's completely natural and open, and it happens inside of the fermentation vats here, made out of oyamel. It's a wood that comes from Michoacán, the state of Michoacán. Once the fermentation is done, then this product will be transferred to the steel pots that are in the backside here. In this part, we are going to have two distillation processes. The first one is going to take this brown colored juice into the main container, heat it up, and we're only going to take the steam of this liquid. The steam will rise through the column, go through the other side of the wall, will get condensed, and it will bring back a clear liquid, which is called tequila ordinario. Tequila ordinario, even though it has low volume of alcohol, around 20%, is not good for drinking because it still has high alcohols like methanol. And this can leave us blind in the best case scenario, or can kill us in the worst case scenario. All right? So what we do is we take the ordinario and put it through a second distillation process. Here we're going to rectify it. Again, put the liquid in the main container, heat it up, take just the steam, rises, gets condensed, and it comes back as tequila. We make 3 cuts: cabezas, cuerpo, y colas. Cabezas usually are the high alcohols, methanol, which we're going to have to separate. Then we're going to change bulbs, and you're going to start getting your tequila. Change bulbs again, and you're going to start getting your tails, which is the residual like water. The only thing we use is going to be the body or heart, the tequila. Now, unlike other places, when they have their tequila ready, they have it at 55% alcohol, aka 110 proof. Here we have it at 46% alcohol, aka 92 proof. Why? Because for you to start exporting, we need to bring it down to 40. So how do you bring a tequila of 55 back to 40%? We water down. The higher your tequila is, the more water you have to use. The less water you're going to use. So that's why our tequila tastes closer to the agave than just alcohol, because we are not adding as much water as other places. But this will also raise a little bit the price of your tequila because we're using a concentrated version instead of just watering down. All right? Questions or comments? No? Oh, good. You guys can make your own tequila? Yeah, heck yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm climbing up to take a look at what it looks like from inside the barrels.
Déjenme poner esto en su lugar en lo que
Oh,
siguen
look at
subiendo. Okay?
That's pretty. Oh yeah.
Tal vez sí.
And there's none in that one, but there it is. Soon to be drank.
For a couple of days for the levels of alcohol to settle. From here, it will take its destination. If it's going to become blanco, well, the tequila will be transported through pipes to the stainless steel tank right behind the parota. And there we will add a little bit of water to bring it down to 40, pass it through a filter into a bottle. If it's going to become steel strength, just to the tank, through a filter, no water added, into a bottle. But if it's going to become reposado or añejo, it will have to go inside of a barrel, and depending on the time is the name is going to receive. We're going to visit first the aging room, and then we come back to the workshops. So this is one of the 2 aging rooms that we have here in Fortaleza. The type of barrels that we use is they're made out of American white oak, and we purchase the barrels from bourbon whiskey companies. Some examples would be Four Roses, Buffalo Trace, or Heaven's Heel. Just some samples. Other ones that we purchase, the lifespan of a barrel is averaging 5 years, and it goes by cycles. We put 3 tequilas first, añejo into repos. We do a new scrape, new chart, and then we put another cycle of one añejo into repos. Now, For a reposado to be called reposado, in general, it has to be inside of a barrel from 60 days all the way to 11 months. In the profile of Fortaleza, we only leave it for 6 months, right in the middle. For añejos, in general, will be 1 to 3 years. In the profile of Fortaleza, we're talking about 18 months, a year and a half. And extra añejos, in general, are 3 years going forward, but no more than 10 years, because then the tequila kind of spoils. But in Fortaleza, we don't make extra añejos. Since Mr. Guillermo believes that an extra añejo might as well just get a bottle of whiskey, because at this point, you're losing a lot of the flavor of the agave, and you're staying a lot more with the flavor of the barrel. So that's why we don't make extra añejos, although we did have a little accident, and lot 42A and 43A are a blend of extra añejo with añejo, but that was an accident. Orphan barrels, to be exact. All right? Questions so far?
Can we taste like for example?
We don't have it.
That accident resulted on the winter blend today?
No, winter blend is a special project. It's something different. The winter blend is basically to show you guys how the same tequila changes flavor depending on the barrel that you're using, and that's why winter blend every year has different recipe, because it's just to show you how the same Fortaleza Blanco can change depending on this barrel. So for example, 2022 was a little more special because 2019, 2020, and 2021 they only use Fortaleza Reposado as a base and another tequila, well, another Blanco Fortaleza aged in another barrel, so just 2. And in 2022 we used 3 tequilas at the same time. Regular Fortaleza Reposado, tequila that was aged in an ex Oloroso barrel, which is French oak, and ex Tokae, which is another wine from Hungary, which is Hungarian oak. So these 3 tequilas were blended together to make the recipe of 2022. So it's a project every year. We are actually working on the 2023. Should be released at the end of this year and should be a different recipe as well. This is basically college money because you guys can purchase it at one price, but we have seen it that it has gone way too high. One for drink, one for investment. Questions or comments about this part, guys? This is going to be the bottling room. This is the only place where we fill our tequila, and the whole chain of production will start with this little machine that I have right here. This one right here is the rinser, and depending on the tequila you're working on is the tequila you will be using for rinsing the inside of your bottle. So you're filling in Blanco, you will use Blanco to wash the bottle. If you're filling in Añejo, you will use Añejo to rinse the bottle. Once the bottles are rinsed, we use that other machine over there that is a filler, manual filler that belonged to Mr. Guillermo's great-grandfather. They're around 90, 100 years. It's pretty old. Only fill 6 bottles at a time, basically 1 case at a time, since our cases are just 6. And we have to be paying attention, otherwise the tequila will spill. Once we have our tequila filled, we're going to place the tops at the corner, and then there is a light box right in the middle of the table. This is where we're going to do a quality check. We're going to see the tequila against the light, just to see if there are no particles of dust, maybe pieces of wood, if we're talking about reposados or añejos, bubbles of air coming in, because that means that the cork didn't seal the bottle correctly. If it does pass quality check, we will start hand labeling every single one of these bottles. If it doesn't pass quality check, we will have to put the tequila in a bucket. Let's say if it was dirty, bring it back into the filter. And if the bottle was the one that had an issue, we just have to change the bottle. Okay? The labeling, like you can see, manual. There is one label here that it gives an extra little work, which is the batch label right here. This little one is handwritten. So they're doing around 1,700 bottles daily in a shift of just 8 hours. Before they start their shift, let's say they're doing the 1,700, they will have to start writing this. All of them have pretty handwriting, so all of them can do this part because one person will not be able to do it. So they all work as a team. Once they do that, they put the plastic, use the heat gun to seal it into a box, up into a pallet, out for distribution. Now, there is another difference between the tequila that stays in Mexico and the tequila that goes to the U.S. The tequila that stays in Mexico uses hand-blown bottles that are made in the workshop of Don Hipólito in Tonalá, Jalisco. Okay? And the one that goes outside of Mexico, the US, will get the industrialized bottle. This bottle usually will have a little number. Right at the bottom, it says the quantity of liquid that you can fill it with. You can see it? And the one that is artisanal will actually have a circle, as if the glass was broken. This is where the bottle and the mold separated. So that's a way to see which bottle you got. If you want to purchase tequila today in our store, you will get a artisanal bottle instead. So that's another difference between Abuelos and Fortaleza. All right, questions or comments?
I've seen los abuelos y Fortaleza. ¿Ya no van a usar los abuelos?
So we use Los Abuelos in Mexico, only in Mexico, and Fortaleza around the world. Any other questions? No? Right now they're filling in a special edition that is coming for this summer. It's going to be Blanco Batch 150. In this batch, we use the fibers that we put on top of the wooden pallets. We put them in bags, and kind of like the tea bags, we let them float at the top of the fermentation. This is going to change the flavor of this one versus a regular everyday tequila. And also, instead of breaking at 46, this tequila came out directly from the still pot at 40. So no water was added to it. So it's coming out in the summer for you guys in the US. Make sure you look for the bottle that has this little necktie.
And we can buy one today?
No, they're just filling in bottles. Sorry. Sorry. No, but you guys have the preview. As soon as you see this little necktie, get all of them. ¿Ya son todos? Okay. All right, guys, so this is the workshop where we make the iconic top for our bottles. Everything starts with a silicone mold, like the ones that we use for chocolates. We're going to pour a mixture of resin, and then we're going to bake them with the light red bulbs that are going to release a little bit of heat to make the liquid solid. Once it's solid, the only thing we have to do is just push it out. We're going to push the piece out. There you go. It worked. And once we have it out, we're going to use acrylic green paint. We're going to hand paint every single one of them, like my coworker is doing right here. Once the acrylic paint is done, we're going to sand away the surface, which is what's happening in the bag. And this is how you end up with a piña just harvest. From here, we're going to place it on this table in every little spot, and we're going to use spray lacquer to give it a finish. Once it's dry, it goes to the other side so we can glue the cork. Questions or comments? Very straightforward. Now, I'll let you look around so you can see how they sand away the surface, and I'll meet you in the other room, okay? ¿Listos o son defectos? No. Ah, ok. From Portugal and Italy, and we use a special glue, liquid glue, and it takes around an hour for it to dry out. Sometimes the corks tend to slide a little bit from one side to another, so throughout this hour my coworkers have to be checking and bringing back the cork if they can, but they're doing around 9,000 tops weekly, so there is so much they can do. Sometimes this happens and this will have to go into a bucket so we can remove the cork and start the process all over again. But let's say if it does pass the quality check, Then we're going to take these piñas, and what she's doing right now is clearing out the little excess of glue that you guys can see here. For us, this might be perfect. You guys will be, this is good enough for our bottles. But for our standards of Fortaleza, this still needs to be cleared out. And this is basically what she's doing. So remember, 9,000 tops, we have to go through it with a little knife, removing the excess. From here, you can see how much work we put from making the tequila to the very small details in the bottle, in the tops. And this is just for you to appreciate the work of this tequila and not to purchase celebrity tequilas anymore, okay? Every time you purchase a Fortaleza or Abuelo's tequila, remember all the hands that were behind this bottle for you to get the highest of quality. All right, guys? Questions or comments? No? Muy especial. De nada. So we have a little of the defects, or I call them the custom-made ones here. If you guys want to grab one as a souvenir, and as soon as we grab one, we can start going downstairs. Okay?
Look at all these piñas. The heart and soul of the tequila right here. They call them piñas. Piñas para las niñas.
Purchase. The way it's carved is the original way. The only thing that was added was basically the floor, the doors, the furniture, the lighting system. But the way they're carved, this is how it was. The original idea was to use this place for aging, because you will think it's a perfect place to have barrels. But when it's rain season here, it gets way too humid, like way too humid. This can spoil the wood, spoiling the tequila. So instead, they changed the idea into a man cave for the tastings of the tequila. Now, because it's a natural cave, you are going to have here bats, fruit bats. Okay, adios. They are, don't worry, they are friendly. They are friendly. Sometimes you will hear a little bit of a chirp. Those are the bats talking, basically saying, yo, welcome to my crib. This is my man cave. But there, I can't guarantee they are COVID-free. I can't guarantee they're rabies-free, but COVID almost killed us 3 years ago, so we are good. Okay. Questions?
But it's free.
Huh?
But it's free.
It's free. It's free. Free bats, everyone. All right, guys, so it's going to feel a little dark for a minute. It's just your eyes adjusting. Just make sure you follow the candle pad that is on the floor and follow my voice, and you will see the bar at the end. There are no steps or anything that can get you tripped. Maybe if you're drunk, but that's something else. On the way out. On the way out. But in the way in, you should be fine. All right, just follow the candle path. All right. Everything should be fine, and the bats should be they should be sleeping. Should be sleeping. This way, guys. There you go. There you go. Welcome to the bat cave.
This is
all right, guys, so I have 10 spots on the bar, and I have 2 tables of 4, whichever you want to pick while I get the shots ready.
This is what heaven looks like.
Look like you want to drink. Drinking your tequila every time is to first, we're going to give a kiss. We're going to just wet our lips and the tip of our tongue. Once that's done, we're going to take a tiny sip, keep it in our mouths for 3 seconds, breathe in, we pass, and then we're going to breathe out. Right? So first a kiss, tip. That's what she said. And then tiny sip. 3 seconds. Breathe in, pass, breathe out. And this is just to get your brain ready to assimilate what we're going to be drinking today. Again, this is Blanco 40%. Okay? What do you think? Delicious, right? Really good? You guys start going to feel a little relaxed.
I sure am glad I decided to quit yesterday.
I didn't like mine. Can I get more?
You'll get 3 more.
All right.
After this. All right, so while you guys are enjoying your tequila, I'm going to give you a little presentation here. Just another kind of like fun fact. These glasses, these cups are now the official glass for tequila. They're Riedel glass or Riedel cups. We no longer use caballitos or the shooters because caballitos, what you do usually is grab it directly where the product is and we're going to heat it up. It's going to change the flavor, evaporate some of the alcohol. So instead, they decided this was the official tequila glass, and the way you grab your glass all the time. And you ever done wine tastings? Maybe before. They always tell you to grab it from the farthest part possible, either from the stem all the way at the bottom or from the base. Never grab it this way because you will be heating up your tequila. So this is the official glass now. No longer caballitos. See the Tahona, the wooden bats, the steel pots, and a little horse doing the job of pulling Tahona. And in the añejo, you will see the agave fields, the house of Mr. Guillermo, and all the way in the background, you will see the volcano of tequila. In the still strength, we have the 2 original steel pots of the distillery, and we have 2 puppies, Sandy and Choco. Now, Blanco doesn't have that rank yet. Sandy and Choco. Sandy belonged to Mr. Guillermo, and Choco belonged to his mother. When his mother passed away, he took over Choco. Unfortunately, both of them are no longer with us. So in a way to remember them, we put them on the label of the still strength. Okay, we'll have a few pictures where you can see how both of them look in real life. Questions so far? No? Another thing, guys, is the neck label. This one right here. Whenever you have a chance, there's a lot of history on this label. If you guys see the one in the front, you will have the initials of the first generation of the family, El Señor Zenobio Sousa Madrigal. He was the one who purchased La Perseverancia, and he was the great-grandfather of Mr. Guillermo. So distillery at the top, relationship to Mr. Guillermo at the bottom. If you turn it to the left for you guys, you will have the initials of the second generation. This is going to be El Señor Eladio Sousa Muro. He was the one who purchased La Constancia, and he was the great-grandfather of Mr. Guillermo. If you turn it to the opposite side, right here, you will have Francisco Javier Sousa, third generation of the family, grandfather of Mr. Guillermo, and the one who purchased this property. So if you never noticed that, this is the one. This is the one with all the history of the family. Now in the bottle, sometimes you will see it either around in the front area or you'll see it here in the back, the logo or the initials of Mr. Guillermo, and it will just be Guillermo Erickson Sousa, 5th generation. So it's an addition to the bottle too. To share the añejo. Añejo. Guys, you ready for añejo? Ahorita.
Oh, that's awesome. So we did the tour one day.
Añejo. You guys will feel that it's going to be a little sweeter and sometimes smoother, depends on your taste buds. This is my favorite of them all. This is the one. I usually am not an añejo person because añejos and other brands tend to be smoky or bitter, and I hate the flavor of smokiness sometimes, but this one is sweet like butterscotch. Very nice.
A mí me encanta.
Madrigal, first generation of the family, born in the highlands of Jalisco, and he moved here to Tequila when he was very young, around 16 years old. He worked for Cuervo as an administrator, where he learned a lot of the industry of vino mezcal. Then, when he had enough money, in 1873, he purchased his first distillery, known as La Antigua Cruz. Eventually, he will rename it to Perseverancia, which is the name of the distillery that Sousa currently uses for making their tequila. He, of course, will be the founder of the Sousa brand, same year, and will be the first one to export tequila to the U.S. through Ciudad Juarez. And he will also be somewhat responsible for the change of name from Vino Mezcal de Tequila to just the word tequila. He was a major of tequila 2 times, and that was one of the proposals. He was the first one to start changing the name on his labels and started sticking around, and he's considered to be kind of like the father of tequila, not for the recipe, but more for giving an identity to the drink. Mr. Zenobio lived in this house that is located at the square next to the kiosk. So it's a very old house that we have to give maintenance every year. Currently, it's in maintenance, and here the second generation will be born. The second generation will be his son, el señor Eladio Sousa Muro. He will take over the company in 1910, since his dad had passed away in 1909. 1910 was year of Revolución Mexicana. Very hard times here in Mexico. He was able to still keep the company with the family, expand to the capacity of the time, and industrialize the process to the capacity of the time, since the Revolución Mexicana isolated Mexico from the new technology out there in the world. Okay? So another historical moment that Mr. Eladio will pass through will be the prohibition time in the U.S. The U.S. will be able to get their alcohol illegally from Mexico or from Canada. And, and Mr. Ya no le den al niño, ya. Since he wanted to sell his tequila to the U.S., but the tequila was considered a drink for the poor class, and whiskey was the drink for the higher class. So what he does, he plays around with his tequila, adding a little bit of color and flavor, and slaps a label calling it Mexican Whiskey Sauza. He even goes the extra step and puts positively old. Kept in wood for a long time. Right? It did work for a couple of years for obvious reasons. They had to stop the production, I'm guessing, till the prohibition ended. And this is an example of how creative Mexicans can get. All right? Mr. Eladio will pass away in 1946, and that's when his son, el señor Francisco Javier Sousa, will take over the family business. This will be the glory years of the Sausa brand. We're talking about the 50s, 60s, and part of the 70s. Mr. Javier will industrialize the process, bringing in what we call the autoclaves, kind of like the express cooking for the agaves. He will bring in the mills instead of the tajonas, and he will bring in the automatic filling instead of people. So he goes towards more efficiency and machinery rather than handcraft stuff. He will also be somewhat responsible for the appellation zone that exists on the tequila. He travels around the world promoting tequila and promoting the Mexican culture until he visits Japan, where he gets offered some Japanese tequila. You ever heard of the story of Chinese are trying to steal our tequila? Never? In Mexico City, they always say that. He comes from here. He goes to Japan. He gets offered Japanese tequila. We're talking in the years where the appellation zone didn't exist, so any spirit can be named tequila. So they probably did it out of rice, kind of like a sake. He hated the idea and he rejected by calling a press conference in Japan. He comes back, and with the help of other owners of other major brands, they were able to bring the appellation zone in the 70s. I think it was 74, 76, when it goes live. And we have this protection now that not only within the region, you can make tequila. So you can see how the Sousa family has to do a lot with the industry of tequila and some of the major changes that it has had throughout the years. A little story, a little chismecito. So when Clooney and Gerber were looking for a place to make his tequila for the project of Casa Amigos, the first place they reached out, Fortaleza. So they reached out Fortaleza, but Mr. Guillermo thought they wanted to sell Fortaleza at the chain restaurants that Gerber owns. He pays them a visit, gives them a tasting. And at the end, those two go, well, we love your tequila, but we don't want to sell your brand. We want you to make our tequila for our brand. The way Mr. Guillermo is, he started putting his stuff away in the little case, stand up and tell them, gentlemen, there has been a misunderstanding. I don't make tequila for anyone. I make tequila for my own. And walked away. We have a picture of them because if you see them here in property, make sure we kick them out. All right, because of the disrespect. And the other one, well, this is more like frenemy because they are co-workers. They're part of the industry. Mr. Guillermo is the one with the blue shirt and the white little hat. And the gentleman with the white shirt and yellow hat is going to be Juan Beckman, owner of the Cuervo brand, head of the Cuervo family. Mr. Beckman comes here every year trying to purchase this property because we have the train tracks right behind us. He has the Cuervo Express. Will be a nice ride to just stop right here, visit the property, and go into the distillery. But Mr. Guillermo doesn't have any plans of selling so far, and we hope it keeps it that way. But if Beckman happens to have succeeds on this plan, there's two case scenarios. Best case scenario, Fortaleza would just drop in quality. Worst case scenario, Fortaleza will disappear because this is a competition that you don't want for your own brand. So let's pray that Fortaleza will never get sold to Cuervo or anyone else. All right, guys? All right, so
So we just exited the taste testing room, the cave, and feeling good. All right, so we just finished our tour, the Fortaleza Distillery. What you think?
Oh man, what can't I say? This place, super rich in history. Thanks, Adam. Super rich in history. Had no idea what goes into just producing a single bottle of tequila.
It's
like
crazy, huh?
the effort, yeah, the effort, all the hands involved. Man,
What was your favorite part?
you know, I honestly, at the dogs at the beginning,
The dogs.
that Blanco dog
Yeah,
barking
that's
at us
cool.
and trying to bite us.
That was
I
pretty
think I
cool.
want to adopt that little son of a gun. But yeah, no, I would say the second best thing for sure is the cave. The cave,
Dude, that was good.
the man cave that they have there, and then there's more education on the history of Fortaleza or Los Abuelos.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing.
All right, you talk too much. All right, let's go next. Thanks, Jose. All right, Rich.
Okay.
Sherry, what do you think? First timer?
Starters, the property is beautiful, and our tour guide Kim, super knowledgeable, and she was also very patient with all of the people that asked questions, and some of them were better than others, but we will digress.
What was the favorite part of the whole tour?
Oh, really just learning about the entire process and the amount of painstaking time that goes into each part of the process, including the labels, all the way to the cap, and of course the tequila. So,
oh, you gotta love that.
Yeah,
you gotta love that. Yeah, I'm glad you made it out here with me, all the way from
I
Dallas.
would not have missed this.
all the way from Dallas, Texas. And then last but not least, we got my cousin Adam. He's not a first timer.
By the way, that Reposado,
amazing. Beautiful. Adam, primo, second time around.
They say the third time's the charm, but the second time, my God, wonderfully done. Kim, very, very knowledgeable, awesomely done.
Awesome tour guide.
I got like a lot more insight than last time. The property across the street, can't wait for 2025, our next trip.
Oh, that's right.
With the 4 horsemen.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the
going down.
It's going down.
But great job all the way around. Beautiful property, beautiful place. Just the type of tour speaks volumes to the type of tequila they made.
Yes.
Very intimate, very hands-on approach to everything.
What was your favorite part today?
My favorite part was, again, the cave, but also knowing that in 2025 they're going to expand and make more tequila. So,
all right, you heard
Fortaleza,
it. Boom.
Beautifully done, number 1.
Fortaleza is where it's at. Here you go. Boom. Come get it.